Hello, everyone. Today we're joined by Morgan McLaughlin, head coach of the senior girls at Collingwood and former professional basketball player, and Simon Fraser, University grad. Thank you for joining us, Morgan.
Pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. So tell us about your journey. I know you come from a sports family. When did you start with sport? When did you start with basketball? How did that look like? And where were you when you started?
So I grew up in Toronto, Ontario, and my journey to basketball was probably a little bit later than a lot of our athletes watching right now. I was involved in everything growing up, from tap dancing to softball. I spent a lot of time actually doing rhythmic gymnastics.
Nice.
But I played basketball a little bit in grades like 7 and 8, but just on our school team, which wasn't very competitive. So it wasn't until grade 9 that I actually started playing a lot more. And I was lucky that one of my teammates on my high school team, her dad was a local club coach. So once we started playing together, and I actually found out she lived down the street from me and never knew that she did after living in our house for like 7 years. So he got me involved in North Toronto Basketball Club, started playing house league, made their rep team. And in Toronto, or at least in Ontario, how girls basketball works is a little bit different. We play high school in the fall, and then that's over by Christmas. So then we can focus on our club team from December into about May, when we have provincial championships as a club organization.
Right.
Then back when I was playing, led to like regional teams, and then we came to like a regional camp. And then if you were lucky, you got selected to a provincial team. I know it's changed there since, but
Right.
That's how I was involved with everything. And through my high school career, I played for a couple of different club teams, and was really lucky that the club team that I played with in my senior year, our coach was quite involved internationally. So I got to travel to Australia to play basketball, and to Slovakia, where we actually played in a women's tournament, and we were the youngest team there, and we got absolutely annihilated. But it was really good experience.
Those are things you remember, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was really lucky that, again, we had a couple of events growing up. We had an All Ontario camp, and then we also had an All Canada camp. So at the All Canada camp and All Ontario camp, they set up a couple of like recruiting symposiums where we had coaches come and talk to us about the recruiting process. And that's where I met Allison McNeill, who was the head coach at SFU at the time. So got to talk to her, started changing letters, sent some tape, and luckily got recruited to come and play out at SFU. Had Allison for a couple of years before she moved on to Oregon. And then we got Bruce Langford, and saw lots of success with Bruce, a couple of national championships. And then I actually pseudo hung up the shoes afterwards. I kept playing in some women's leagues, playing and scrimmaging against different people. And it just happened one day that Bruce was talking to Paul Langford, saying that he had gotten an email from a former player, Nikki Johnson, who said her club team in Germany was looking for a player. And I was like, pick me, I'll go. And so, yeah, despite having not played for a couple of years, got to go and play in Germany for a year. And since that, I've kept playing women's league. I moved to Scotland for 1 year and played in their national league, and also on the university team there too. Just move continents to go and get a few more years of eligibility. So yeah, that's kind of my player history.
I like that. And so let's go back to when you got to Simon. So when you got to Simon, you guys were not in the NCAA or in the CIS, correct? You were in.
No, yeah. My first year was our last year in the NAIA. And when I arrived, there were myself and 14 other girls on the team. So Allison suggested taking a redshirt year, which was great. We had a lot of really talented post players, and Jessica Kazauka, Jen Vandewall, Nina DeStefano. And I probably wouldn't have gotten a lot of playtime anyways. So it made sense to just get my academics under control, get stronger, learn the game a bit. And I don't remember what month it was, but I do remember we were all sitting in a restaurant in a pregame meal when the news broke that we were going to be moving to the CIS,
Right.
and what that all actually meant for us. And for me, it meant 5 more years of eligibility. So I was like, does my scholarship last that whole time? And it did, luckily. So I got
You're
to,
at your best in your last year, so they better.
yeah. So I was lucky as managed to stay the whole time. So
Right,
yeah.
and then so right. So your freshman year, I believe you guys won a national championship, correct?
No, in my freshman year in the NAIA, they finished
No, but
second.
when you played, you
Oh, when I played,
yeah.
no. So our first year in the CIS, it was a bit of a struggle. A lot of the girls on the team, yeah, my first year was, my first playing year, our first year in the CIS, we did not do very well. We ended up losing to Calgary in the quarterfinals of like Canada West. But the first year Bruce came was our first year that we won undefeated and won nationals back in Hamilton.
That's gotta be pretty fun, right? So like, tell us a little bit about that experience. You come in, you guys had just had a disappointing finish, and then you got this new team. You go undefeated, which I don't think people do that anymore. You go undefeated, and then you win the national championship. Give us a little rundown of what being on that team was like, and how that kind of experience kind of, shaped a little bit of your basketball career.
I was really lucky that I had some amazing teammates. I still feel like I was pretty raw. And I got to have to practice against Jessica Gazauka, who was 2-time Canada MVP. So I got to learn and have to battle against her every day. Teresa Kleindienst was an amazing point guard. And they just set such a great example of work ethic and what it means to be a basketball player. To go undefeated, it was great, but the national championship is the most important thing at the end. So if we had had a couple of losses along the way, those would have been forgotten pretty quickly, with a championship at the end. And I mean, I'll be perfectly honest, I did not get a lot of minutes that year. But winning, and then also knowing that we were losing quite a few seniors, just provided a lot of motivation for me to really recommit myself to being healthy, avoiding injuries, getting in the gym over the summer, so that I could contribute to the team in a bigger way over the next few years.
So what I remember about your career is that every year you seem to get better, and by the time you were in your last year, you were a major contributor on the team, and that made a big difference and impact on the team. So that means you had to have put in the work. And so one of the reasons why I think it's a great interview for people is because you go in, you have to redshirt your first year, and then you're working behind one of the best players in the country, in Gazauka, and then you got to put in the time so that you're eventually worthy of the moment that you actually want to get to, right? So talk about the grind of putting in the time and getting better every day.
It came down for me, putting a lot of time in the weight room, having to battle against other post players. I'm lucky I'm 6'2". It's not the biggest, but it's helpful. But there definitely were a lot of other girls who were quite big. So I put in a lot of time in the weight room. We had a really great trainer, who put us through our paces, really. So I probably put on at least 10 pounds of muscle between my 4th and 5th year. And just getting into the gym, doing workouts with Bruce, summertime, we're all university students. We have to have summer jobs to help cover off paying for school. But just knowing that you got to go and shoot every day, and it takes a lot of self-determination and self-motivation. We would scrimmage as a team at least twice a week. And I was living in West Van, and I mean, it's in Burnaby. I didn't have my license. I didn't have a car. So getting on the SkyTrain every day, getting on the bus to get out to SFU to scrimmage was a pain, but it's stuff you got to do. You make the sacrifices to make sure that you're getting better.
Hold on, let's pause on that point for a second. That's important. Right? So like, obviously getting a driver's license is probably a good idea, but you didn't get it, so whatever, it doesn't matter. What matters is, you hear a lot, as you're coaching now high school, I'm sure you get your fair share of ridiculous, reasons why kids can't do stuff. I do as well, but the ones that want to get better, they find a way to figure it out. So if that means you got to get on the bus to drive to get to Burnaby from West Van, you got to get on the bus to get to Burnaby, right? And so the price is the price. It takes what it takes. So you either put in the work or you don't put in the work. And I would bet you that work probably paid off big time by the time it was all over.
Yeah, I mean, senior year was another it was so interesting. Both years that we won national championships that I got to be a part of, we had 10 players. We had faced some adversity as a team during the summer with losing recruits at the very last minute, dealing with a couple of injuries through the season. And everything just seemed to work nicely. Everything fell into place. We were really a team. I think a couple of people won a few individual accolades, like Canada West players, but none of us won like an all-Canadian player. And that's because at any given game, one of us could step up. If it wasn't Devin or Julia scoring the majority of the points, I would step up, Danny would step up. And we all just complemented each other really well in our senior, or in my senior year. So to win that national championship for me was a lot more emotional, a lot more meaningful, just because of the growth and the journey from not for being a role player and relieving post player like Jessica in my first couple of years to starting the game, finishing the game, and having a significant role to play in it. And we had 2 years where we had come off 4th place finishes at nationals, and those were disappointing. So to just finish it off with a national championship, undefeated season, senior year, I don't know if you can really ask for much more than that.
That's better than you want. And then after that journey, you end up getting a job at Collingwood, and you've been a coach ever since. Talk about what it's like to lead a program at Collingwood, and you've got some of the best facilities in the province. What running the place and getting things going there?
I think, yeah, I'm super lucky. Collingwood is a lovely school. We just got our brand new campus a couple of years ago. Before that, it was a regular old school. But yeah, we're lucky with Triple Gym, nice weight room facility. It's still challenging because being a private school, you get what you get in terms of kids, and it's been a bit of a grind trying to get girls wanting to play basketball all year. So we started doing Friday morning skills and snacks, give them breakfast, chocolate milk, just having people come out and play, going down to our little campus, our junior campus, and doing again Friday afternoon activities with them, just trying to get people pumped about playing ball. We've been lucky to host a couple of tournaments, which gets the school engaged. And then we've also been really lucky to take a couple of trips overseas with our senior girls. And hopefully, if everything settles down in the world, this is supposed to be another year that we go.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get to do that. So that's also kind of a little motivating piece for some of the girls to keep playing.
Absolutely. Last question for you before we wrap this thing up. If you were to go back and give young Morgan McLaughlin a tidbit of advice from when she was in high school, obviously you had a full journey there, from Ontario to British Columbia. Your family came out here with you. You had a full journey. And basketball's had a lot of impact on your life. What would you tell that young person?
Probably to, oh gosh, there are a few different things. It depends on how honest you want the answer to be. I would have actually probably said, don't be so concerned with what other people think. Don't be so concerned about being popular, being liked by other, I'm gonna say boys. But just to, like, I wished, as much as I did put in the grind, I think I put it in a little bit later. And if I always kind of wonder if I had put in more time as a teenager in my high school years. I mean, I did play like lots of summer ball. I went to camp, but I wonder how much further I could have gone if I might have played a few more years overseas, if I might have made a national team, if I had put in the work a little bit earlier and not been so concerned about the other aspects of life. I mean, it's important to have lots of friends, but I think I wish I had put more time into my basketball friendships. And I wish a little bit that maybe if my friends on my high school team were more dedicated to basketball too, I wonder if that would have changed it. Just because they weren't, it was just a fun team. Like we just went and competed. So yeah, that would probably be it. Just trying to put the work in earlier and just focusing on making you the best person that you can be and listening to a lot of different coaches along the way. Don't be like, oh, that coach, that's not my regular coach, that they don't know. And just learning to disseminate through the information, taking it all in and putting in a little bit more time and hitting the weight room earlier for sure.
We've heard that from a lot of people, get in the weight room early. But you know what? I think what you just said is huge. I think you gotta pick it up early, and then you gotta take it more seriously in an earlier time. And when you do, you start to see the results a lot earlier. So thank you so much for coming on today. We're excited to hopefully get going one of these days with our program, and
be great.
excited to have you part of the group. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anthony.
Take care.